Hello friends and welcome back. So if you've logged in yesterday or today, you were greeted by a free 3-star Guardian to celebrate Canada Day. And last night on stream, I took this guy up to 440 as a 3-star and awakened him. And you'll undoubtedly see a lot of videos today in the coming days on how good his burst damage is. But when I was testing him last night, one of his abilities that really stood out to me is this one here. So when Guardian's ability accuracy is below 100% for more than 3 seconds, he will inflict a shock debuff, and this deals about 15% of his base attack, and this shock is permanent until the ability accuracy level is restored to 100%. Now, I thought that this was going to have some pretty interesting uses, and we tested some of them out live, but I wanted to go over a few of them here today. So let's get right into it. So the first use for him is against Domino. Now, he's not a hard counter for Domino in the way that Mysterio is, but he's a tech champ, so he won't get unlucky. See there, he took some critical failure damage. But since Domino has a global reduction in ability accuracy, just naturally, you can see that we've, at the start of the fight, 3 seconds in, we've applied this permanent shock, and this shock will last for the entirety of the fight. Now, it's kind of hard to gauge its effectiveness as a 3-star versus an R3, but in my testing, I mean, Guardian can take down a Domino, an R3 Domino like this, in around 50 or 60 hits, and that's pretty good, I think. So if you have like a really stacked R5, 5-star, or R3, 6-star Guardian, the shock damage, I think, is going to be pretty useful, especially in war, where you're going to see Dominoes all the time. And the ability to apply a permanent shock and deal constant damage in a war fight is always going to be something that's going to be valuable. Alright, so let's take a look at the next instance. Okay, so the next case here is against Magneto. Now, Magneto is due for a buff that was announced last week or the week before. So Magneto applies this magnetized passive effect to any metal champ, and Guardian is classified as a metal champ. So again, we get the permanent shock for the entire duration of the fight. Now, it's kind of, again, hard to gauge how effective this is going to be long-term, because right now Magneto is pretty much a useless champ, and you don't really see him anywhere, but there is a good potential that post-buff or post-rework that he is going to be one of the strongest mutants in the game. So I guess just keep this one in the back of your mind. Again, the ability to apply constant damage to a champion in a fight, similar to Void, I think is extraordinarily useful. And you combine this ability with his already, impressive burst damage, and Guardian is shaping up to be one of the better champs, I think. Alright, so the third case I wanted to point out is against the concussion debuff. Now, this will apply to anybody who has concussion, so that would include Mr. Sinister here. You'll see when he pops off his special 2, he'll get the shock debuff until the concussion goes away. It also applies to champions like Luke Cage or Emma Frost, Wasp, Taskmaster, Cable, Gambit, Hood. These are all champions who place some sort of concussion debuff on you. But perhaps the most notable concussion applying champ is Quake. So if you try and Quake a Guardian in Alliance War, you're going to have a bad time. So right here, you see I applied the concussion to myself, or rather Sinister did, and then I applied the shock debuff until the concussion went away. So again, back to what I was saying, if you try and Quake a Guardian in Alliance War, you're just going to shock yourself to death. So he seems like a pretty hard counter to Quake users in war. Now, I did want to point out one other thing, and that is that apparently this ability is already bugged due to technical limitations. This was in his champion spotlight that I read earlier. So right now it works with reductions to global ability accuracy, like concussions, as I pointed out, Archangel or Domino. And it's not working right now against individual abilities. So I tested it against like Warlock, who reduces ability accuracy when you're infected, and that didn't work. But it seems like this kind of stuff will be functioning in the next month's update, so looking forward to that. And finally, I wanted to point out some other potential uses. So against the Collector boss in 5.2, He also applies like a global ability accuracy reduction. So if you bring in a nice 4-star or 5-star Guardian, I think you could apply some decent damage to the collector. Archangel and Warlock I mentioned already. Those should function next month. It also isn't working against the Assassin Mastery. I tested that out, and that didn't work either right now. But again, should probably work next month. Labyrinth Ultron is another one, so he reduces your ability accuracy if he has an armor up. That's not functioning right now. If you run Suicides and fight Elektra, you should have the shock debuff up for the entire fight because of the poison on yourself will reduce your ability accuracy. And then things like Black Widow and the slow debuff are also not functioning right now. I tested those. Would definitely look for those to be working next month. So that's about it. Let me know what you guys think about Guardian. I think his animations are great. I think he has some decent ability sets. And I love his burst damage on his SP2. So looking forward to seeing some gameplay coming out from maybe the CCP who's going to get him as a 5-star. But until then, hit that like button, sub for some more good content. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.